Hey there, I'm Tracy Spears, speaker, author, coach, founder of Exceptional Leaders Lab, and host of Shift Out Loud. I'm super excited to introduce my guest this week, Suzanne Westenhoefer. Suzanne is a stand-up comedian, has taken some very big stages, and you're going to hear all about it in our podcast today. I'm not even going to go through your bio, sister, because I think a lot of those are the shifts that we're going to be talking about. And if you want for 30 minutes, I can just sit here and tell you how amazing you are. Otherwise, I'm going to welcome you in right now. So, Suzanne, welcome to the show.
Hi, Trace. How's it going? Do
Very
you
good.
like my voice? I'm trying it. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, I am so excited to have you here. And as all of the podcasts we're doing, I'm trying to give people a sense of where everybody is. So let's just tell everybody where you're sitting right now. What city are you in? And kind of, what's happening in your world?
My home in Los Angeles. My kitchen is behind me, and I'm sitting in the dining area.
Yes.
Like you said, the lighting was excellent. And frankly, I'm shallow, so I went with that. Oh, I look good in this one? Great.
Yeah. Well, listen, I learned that like halfway through the pandemic that I was trying to get my, all of the windows, and
Okay.
somebody finally said, no, 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 I don't want, if we see the window, that's bad lighting. I was like, oh, that's good to remember.
I bought a ring light when we were in the pandemic. I think we were only shut down for like 3 weeks, and I went, "Oh, I'm gonna have to be online to talk to people because,
Yes.
oh, I couldn't take it."
That's one of the shifts I want to talk about, but I want to go back. We don't have to do it chronologically. However, I was
Yeah.
thinking about this, all of the shifts that people have had. And I'm thinking, knowing you grew up in Pennsylvania.
Mean by shift though? Tell me what you mean. Like, what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So a shift would be where you're going along and then something happens that shifts you into playing bigger. It shifts you into, oh, wow, that's something I need to explore. The out loud part is that it is a shift that's so dramatic that it changes you fundamentally in some way.
No,
It changes your trajectory.
right.
So do you want to do chronological? What do you want to do?
No, okay.
All right, let's do it. You start out, you're not in Amish County in Pennsylvania. I know you. Do you want to start there? Or should we start with
Amish.
your?
I think it's important to acknowledge that I'm not Amish.
Yeah, but how do you end up in Hollywood, California from Pennsylvania? That's a shift. What happens?
What very I don't even know that it was a shift in the sense that from the moment that I can remember thinking about it, and of course I still even have my diary from like when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I wanted to be a movie star.
Of course.
Never wanted to be anything else but an entertainer. Ever, ever, ever. There was never like, oh, maybe I'll teach or maybe I'll do hair. No, no. There was that. So it didn't feel like a shift to me because that's the only thing I've ever wanted to do. Um, then my mom made me go to college in case that didn't work out. And then I went to New York first because Los Angeles was far from Pennsylvania, you know what I mean? And became a bartender to survive while I thought I was going to become a great big Broadway star, before I made my debut in movies. And I all of a sudden I was, gosh, 29 years old and bartending. And that's all I was doing. And that's where the shift came for me, the biggest shift, because everything else was kind of putting along, not like sort of like I thought it was gonna. And then where I bartended the day shift, the Monday through Friday shift, so that I could have a relationship with my person who had a real job. You know, but that's to get those regulars that come in every single day. We call them alcoholics now because 80s and it was different. And they would tip me very well and took care of me and everything. So, and then one day, and I made them laugh. I treated them. I thought I was always out. I'm like, they would come in, sit down. I'd be like, well, I'll be a lesbian getting that Manhattan for you. You know what I mean? I was just that way. And I'd make them laugh about it. And I'd tease them about being, if they said they never had a gay experience, I'd go, and then you got married without even trying. And these men in the 80s who like owned advertising companies were like, but they loved it. Then one day, a guy came in who was fairly regular, double Finlandia martini. I always remember that's what he had, a double Finlandia martini. And I would make him eat because he would try to have 2 or 3 of those and go back to work. And I would put like shrimp cocktail in front of him and stuff like that and be like, eat or I'm not making another one.
Nice.
Like, right. Um, and he said to me, I saw a comic on HBO last night and he was really good, but I kept thinking the whole time, you're funnier than that guy in just here in lunch, making us laugh about your being a lesbian and being, he goes like this, being a lesbian. You know how people used to talk like that, right? And he said, why don't you try stand-up comedy? And I said, and I, as a thinking I'm going to be an actor, I'm like, stand-up comedy, as if that's below me, right? And then I said to him, what am I going to do? Get up there and start talking after being so out and a member of ACT UP, a member of Queer Nation, a member of the Lesbian Avengers. I'm going to suddenly get up on stage as a comic and be like, well, my boyfriend,
Right.
right? And because there was nothing, I didn't have a sense of it. He goes, well, why don't you just do the stuff you do here? And I said, oh, I don't know. And he goes, yeah, because you'll never get another bartending job. And that hit me like, exactly. I'm willing to march in the first AIDS walk, all these things that were so big, but not make one little shift from my own life. So I was being this activist, but I didn't think I could get up on stage and do stand up. But it was a different, it was 1989, it was 1990. It's just so different. So I entered a contest for open mic contest down in New York City, and 20 comics get up and you get like 3 minutes or 4 minutes. And because I started, I said, well, I guess I'll be the only lesbian comedian tonight. And everybody laughs. And then they realize I'm serious and I talk about being a lesbian. And I won the contest, $25.
Had a
So
girl.
ever being on stage, I won a contest. And now I'm like, oh, this is what I'll do. I will tell you that I did not think I probably was doing it for my living for a good 8 years before I realized this is really what I'm gonna do for a long time because I didn't trust it.
That is listen, so I've known you a long time. I've not heard that version of that story. You have given me the short version of that. That is how about that guy? I wonder where that guy is now.
I've always thought that because we had another thing that happened with us. He would come in. I introduced him to another guy who did sort of like what he did. They were both into marketing. They were big cheeses. And the one guy made the containers for makeup and mascara. So I was fascinated with him, of course. And I introduced them to each other. And they were both sitting there one day. And the guy who said that to me was showing these pictures of his kids to the other guy. And I'm just, paying attention. I'm being nosy and paying attention. And he goes, oh, I've never shown you these. And he goes like this. He shows me his 3 daughters. And he goes, this is my oldest daughter, blah, 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 blah. This is my youngest daughter, blah, 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 and all the things they do. This is my youngest daughter. And it's a picture of her in her softball uniform.
Of course.
Because she's just not interested in dating or anybody. We don't know what's going on there. And I'm going, you know, you're looking right at me. And he goes, why? And I went, I think she's going to be a lesbian and you better be fucking nice to her. I was really like,
Nice.
me now, you better be amazing to her because she's going to come out and you're going to be the dad, like on a TV movie. You're going to be amazing. And she did turn out to be gay.
Of course she did. Oh my gosh. So how does he react in that moment?
Um,
Shocked or like, yeah, probably. What do you remember?
no, no, no. Could think about this. This was like 1986.
Yeah.
He was terrified for her and saying, how can I make, he actually said something like, how can I make it not happen?
Oh.
As if it was like a thing you just do, like
Let's
a
turn that switch off.
cruise or something, you know what I mean?
I do.
And yeah, and I said, you can't stop it from happening. That's who she is from her core, her heart. I said, what you can do though is make it an amazing experience for her and be the dad that all the little gay people she meets for the rest of her life, they're going to come home to you going, you were the best dad ever. You know what I mean? I said,
Yeah.
you're going to be a hero to her.
Mm,
Every
mm,
gay person she ever meets, you're going to be a hero. She's going to tell the story about how you and your wife were fine with it.
mm.
And Andy,
That was so listen, and that was such a hard time, as you know. I
people
mean,
were dying of AIDS like
that's right.
crazy.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I love knowing though that that's your shift, and I have many questions to dig in on that. So you stand up on that stage, you win your $25. Did you leave there and say, okay, well, I'll come back next week, or what was that? Is that what happened?
Back next week, but also immediately afterwards, other comics come up and introduce themselves to you. And they're people who've been trying to do it for a year or two, right? Um, and they were like, hey, there's another open mic because this is New York in the 80s. There was 40 open mics a night somewhere in cabarets all over, in restaurants, everywhere. That was a hot time for comedy. I mean, like, they were doing it everywhere. And, so they would tell you about everything. So I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll come in for that. Oh, okay." You know what I mean? And then you find like 1 or 2 people that are like comedy buddies to sort of travel with and or to tell you about something. So you tell them about the next thing you hear about. And basically I did that for a year and a half. And then I started making my living doing it. And that was hard. That's a different shift.
Tell me about it. Let's talk about it. Take us right into that. So you go from bartending to doing this full time.
In a
What
year,
does that look like? A year and a half. That's amazing.
I went from making like, maybe what, 21K in tips, right? To like the first year I did stand up probably over 100, you know,
Wow.
and it was like, I didn't even, you like, and I grew up poor too. So I like, what's the, and you're giving it away because you feel guilt. You don't know what to do. um, the big shift there though was, uh, everybody, I was creating all this attention and all the other comics were talking to me and stuff like that. Now but they wouldn't be seen talking to me sometimes because they didn't want anybody else to think they were gay, especially
Oh,
there are a lot of women who were gay in comedy. There always has been. I don't know why. The same way there's a lot of dancers in ballet that are gay men. What are you gonna do? Um, and they they wouldn't be seen with me or anything, and it was a little creepy. The big shift though came is when I, uh, quit my job bartending in '92. I started in '91, the end of '91, um, and was making my living doing it. I lost all the comic friends I had. They I jealous, that seems like such a flippant word to use, right? But, resentful, um, just couldn't believe it, like, why her? And she's being gay, you know what I mean? Like, it was just so they were really not happy.
yeah, and not kind.
And so I don't have any friends now that I can say, "Oh, we started stand up together."
I hate that for you.
No, because everybody has 1 or 2 at least.
Yeah. Do you in those moments, like, and as you look back on that, do you think it was more about this is my theory. Do you think it was more about them not feeling that they were living up to their own potential and the fact that you were? Is there a chance that that it was really about them saying, not that I'm jealous of her, but oh my gosh, I'm not good at this. And I think people have a tendency to shrink when other people in their orbit start to get bigger. What do you think?
I've never even thought of that. I'm just sitting here going, "Yeah, that," because I immediately just thought in the way I would be. It was just complete jealousy and resentment, nothing else. But now you're saying that about shrinking when you're in other people's orbit. I think that happens to me a lot. And I think I'm old enough to recognize that I'm a big personality or I'm a lot. But I still get shocked by it every once in a while because I can see people shrinking. I can see them, I mean, I can see it happen. But I am better at it now that I'm older. But gosh, that could have absolutely been it. And it also could have been just straight up inner homophobia from some of the women who were gay too, you
For
know?
sure.
That, the late '80s, early '90s, there was still a lot of gay men and women who were trying not to be gay. They were trying not to be gay because
Yeah.
they thought it was gonna be horrible. They were being told it was horrible. They
It
lost,
was horrible.
you know what I mean? And there was that. They were lost family and stuff, So
Yeah.
they were actively trying not to be gay. So here I was going, I had the joke in the beginning. It was like, and I didn't, I said, and I don't know, I don't think I was born gay. Some people were born gay. I go, I chose it.
Oh,
And
okay.
they were losing their shit because it was like, "What'd she say?" And I'm going, "No, no, no. Got my little card, scratched off the ticket, lottery, I win, I'm gay." And
Oh,
go with that in 1990 and '91 because it was like, no, they were trying, the gay community was trying so hard to say, "We're born this way. There's nothing we can do about it." But I didn't like that because it sounds like we're born this way. It's like being, some sort of crippling thing. It's something a bad, negative thing that we just have to deal with. And I didn't like that, but I didn't want people to think that you choose it like a lifestyle either. It's not something you casually go in and out of. I mean, sex can be, but the choosing to be lesbian or whatever. But and I didn't want them to think that. So I was saying that it was like a gift.
I
And
love, yeah. Okay. I
on
see that now.
the lottery.
I see that now, but I also can see the what would
Oh,
have been happening back in the day for
but the
sure.
gay people, they were really like, "Don't say that."
Yeah, yeah. So that shift, so you're a year and a half in, you quit your bartending job, you're now a stand-up comedian.
I didn't even quit. I told my manager, "I'm going up to Provincetown to do, 2 full months of shows every night," you know what I mean? It was so exciting. It was my first time, and, doing something like that. I said, "So I won't be back." I said, "Working here till September." And he goes, "You're never coming back." And I said, "Why would you say that?" And he goes, "You're gonna go somewhere. I can see it." And I didn't even like, he wasn't like my favorite manager or anything, you know what I mean? And he was like, "No, this is it for you. You're taking off." And I was like, "Idiot."
Nice.
Like,
Oh my gosh, I love that. I think there are it's always funny to look back and those people that see those things in you that you discount and go, "Ah, whatever," but, like, he saw something, he knew, for sure.
we didn't, like I said, he wasn't like, you know how if you're bartender, you have certain managers that you really groove with,
Yep.
and certain that you don't. And we weren't even like that because he'd been born and raised in Kansas City or something. And I was like, I would be mean to him going, "Is everything up to date in Kansas City?" "Well, we're here in Jersey. How's it going here?" And he would be like, "It's so funny."
Yeah.
It was,
Oh my gosh. So take me from that to, the HBO special. I don't even know how to introduce into that. So because you're talking about the timeline where you end up getting an HBO special, the first openly gay comedian ever to do that. So, oh my gosh.
when you say it like that, and I forget my own self, and you go, "Oh shit, that's right." Here's what I remember about it. I did a show here in Los Angeles. I wasn't living in Los Angeles yet. So because it was like 1994, and the I had a friend who was pretending to be my manager because you know what I mean. Like it's still hard now for comics to get managers, and just helping me, whatever. And she, this guy, this gal wants to meet with you. She works for HBO, and I'm like, ooh. And then I heard that Marga Gomez, who's a phenomenal comedian, better than a comedian. She's like a Lily Tomlin. She's a whole many characters in a one woman show kind of person. That she was going to be doing the first gay comedy special. Right. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad it's Marga. God, she's so talented. This is going to be great. But I was like, also in myself, like, like jealous, resentful. See, not of her, but just of like, oh, I wish I could have had that. But I also thought I'd only been doing stand up for like barely 3 years. Was it even 3 years? And yeah, about 3 years. And then there was all this kind of weird stuff where I was getting these calls and I went into like 2 meetings. I can't even remember. Some of it was so weird. And then all of a sudden it was just, you have the special and Margaret doesn't.
Oh,
Margaret had already been told she has the special. And Margaret and I were friends. I mean, we weren't, she lived in San Francisco. I lived in New York. We weren't, but we knew about each other as open gay comics. She just did the juice bars and stuff like that up in San Francisco. She was just starting out too. You know what I mean? And it was like, but the cool part is that Marg and I survived as friends the whole way through. That's a lot to say about her too. But so then all of a sudden it was like, you're going to have this HBO special. And then you're just going, it's like everything's happening so fast. You go, and I do 2 shows that they tape with the big cameras and the whole 9 yards. And you're just like, damn, this is happening. And I was so excited because they were saying, we won't have to edit your special. And I was like, "What's that mean?" And they were like, "Because you did it right. Everybody laughed when they were supposed to, and it was enough. All we have to do is take out like 8 minutes because, of course, you went overtime, of course."
of course.
Um, and so I was so focused on like, "Oh my God, maybe I can do this. I'm good at this," meaning because you know what I mean? That I never even really like took it on. Like, this HBO special is gonna show, and I'm gonna be the first. But I will tell you though, the gay press, and there was a gay press back then. There was probably a gay newspaper or gay mag in every major town. They ignored it completely that I did it. And so
What's your theory?
it's a bad theory, but I'm going to say it out loud because I'm old now and I don't care. Back then, I would say 90% of any of the gay press was pretty much run by guys.
Oh, okay.
I just think they're not as excited by lesbians, and they just sort of, especially in the 90s, I just don't think they care. They were really focused on AIDS, even though we were helping them. Um, I think they just were like, "Oh, it's some chick." I just do. I think it
Okay.
was weird, but
That's
not
a
like purposeful thing, just sort of like a
Yeah.
comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it
Listen,
was a big deal.
listen, that HBO special, for a girl sitting in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that's how I meet you. Like, if you right? Like, I watched the special, and, I remember a friend calling and saying, "Hey, Suzanne Westenhoefer's coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma." And I'm not gonna lie, we were like, "Do you think people will see us going in and out of the show?" We were so freaked out.
96, 95, right?
Yes. Yes, so, but I will say this, I sat in that audience and watched you, and I could weep at how transformative that is for someone to sit in an audience, or as we now know, and see representation, see somebody up there doing what you were doing, and I mean, it does make me emotional. I think you opened a lot of doors, and you opened a lot of minds, and so I'll just say thank you for that, but it was big, it was so big.
And it was, I in the last because, I've been on the road now 30 years. Um, I in the last, like, 5 to maybe 7, 8 years, whatever, I've really noticed that I'm hearing more of that than ever. Like, from comics that are, like, 25 and 30, uh, they're like, "Oh, my friend had your special, and it was on a VHS tape, but my mom had a VHS player." You know what I mean? I'm hearing the whole like, how they had to go through the snow, like, to basically see this special, and, or how it changed them, you know what I mean?
I
And
do.
it's I may have been hearing that all the time, but I couldn't absorb it. It was only in the last handful of years that I've been able to go and take it in, like, "It's a good thing you did, Suzanne. It's okay to be alright about it and be proud of it because it's hard, like, to it's hard for us, women especially, but, for us to accept that we've done well or we've done good and we've changed things. I got very grateful when they would introduce me as a pioneer in the community. Like, a younger comics go, "She's a pioneer," and I would be all like, "I don't have a freaking wagon," and I was resentful about it because I didn't understand the compliment of it. Janine, my partner, is the one who went, "Honey, they're trying to say, you know what I mean, that you're amazing and you did all this." And I'm going, "Oh, yeah."
True, true, and I've known you long enough to know this is the first time you've let me get all the way through a thank you to you. So I so I'm glad you could hear it, but I wanna tell the audience just because it's probably more it's definitely more a story about me than you, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. Just after the show, when we were in line and you were signing your VHS tapes, but you kept talking on stage about how hard it was to be on the road. You told some jokes about legumes. I didn't even know what a legume was then. Like, I can remember all of the stories you told, and, then you were saying, though, like, "I've gotta get to Oklahoma City tomorrow." Do you remember this? Do you know what I'm talking about? And so, I'm like, "Well, listen, I'm happy to take you." Like, it sounded like that's a lot of drama to rent a car, and you, like, immediately said, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, I'm gonna have to borrow a car."
I'm I'm driving some comic to Oklahoma City tomorrow.
But
Then you
listen, here's the best
14 of
thing.
your closest friends, like you were
Well
afraid.
Well, no, the 6 people that went with us, or the 6 that went to the show that actually invited me to the show. So
Oh,
as we're walking out, they're like, "Bitch, you're taking us because we're the only reason you're here." And then somebody gets on the call, or on the phone, no, that's a lie. They had to go home and get on the phone. They didn't even have a phone, like, they had to go home and call their neighbor, and somebody scores a Suburban, and so here I don't know if you remember this, but here we come in a Suburban. Like, driving.
yeah.
It's a big yeah, but this is the part that I was gonna tell. We're gonna drop you off in Oklahoma City, and I had to use the restroom, and you're like, "Well, come on in." It was at the Marriott. I wanna tell everybody exactly what was happening. You and I are walking in, we go right up to the desk, you're gonna check in, and do you know the rest of the story? You don't, I'm gonna tell you, and Billie Jean King turns around,
Oh,
and you hugged her, she hugs you. I'm standing there like, I thought you were a big deal, but I'm not gonna lie, Billie Jean King, come on,
think of that, of course.
right? And you introduced me to her, and she was delightful, and she was like, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you." And I mean, I don't even remember like knowing if I even said anything in that moment, but I go back to the Suburban and you're in tow, and so is Billie Jean King. And so she goes up to the Suburban, and all of my friends are looking like I had been looking for the last 5 minutes, and they're all like, "What the fuck is happening?" She leans in and says, "Would you all like to go to the Virginia Slims tennis tournament?" Which is why you were going to Oklahoma City. So, anyway, we go down to the tennis
Not
tournament.
that she done that. That she's so cool.
Oh my gosh. Well, we follow her in the underbelly of I think it's called the Myriad. And like they wave us in like VIPs. You're just sitting in the Suburban, like, this is my life. This
Oh,
is amazing. And we're all like, oh my God, oh my God. But
well,
it was the greatest day. Well, listen, and I'll say thank you again
and we
afterwards.
tennis and really great seats. But then wait, the only thing I remembered is that afterwards I was like, I gotta go see Martina because I had met her. Like I'd met she and Billy like 2 years before and thought I was like cool because they're like friends now. And and I went into the locker room, dressing room, the locker room, and I remember that she was naked the whole time and saying, "Yeah, come out and meet your friends. I would love to." And I'm all like, Put something on," you know. Um, that's what I forgot about Billie Jean because Billy's the reason we got seats and got the
That's
good
right.
part to send.
That's right. Well, and after Martina got dressed, apparently, because I didn't see
Yeah,
that, you
you didn't.
brought her. What?
I was gonna say, didn't I?
Yeah, you
Didn't
brought her out. Oh, no, like, she comes out with her dog, KD, for
oh,
Killer Dog.
poor dog.
Chris Everett comes out, Pam Schreiber comes out, like, we're literally just we just can't even believe it. The ride home after all of that happened, because you were like, "Well, hang on, so you can run me back to the hotel." So we're like, "Okay, well, we're in to wait." So anyway, that was just one of the greatest days of my life, and you're responsible for that, and that was super fun, and the beginning of an amazing friendship.
Yeah,
That
that's
that and thank you for just, I mean, it wasn't a one and done. You
but it
sent
was
me some.
no, the best part is that here's what, you stepped up and said, "Sure, I'll take you," out of the goodness of your heart. You didn't know you were gonna meet Billie Jean or Martina or anything. You didn't know any of those things were gonna happen, and then you got a million things fell into your lap because of it, and I like that part of it because I think, you step up, you're like, "Oh, alright, shit, fuck it, I'll take her." You know what I mean? You're gonna have like, that's the part I like. You did something good, something unexpected, and then you got a whole bunch of nice things immediately, and
Yes.
that right?
Immediately, and that's the shipped out loud part. One of the messages I want our audience to hear is the out loud is when other people do benefit. Like, if
Ye
you're playing big, guess what? I get to play bigger by proximity, right? And if I'm playing big and we're influencing, somebody's listening to this right now saying, "I should probably go do the stand-up
oh, right.
night."
I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I should probably
Right.
say yes when I'm tired and want to say no. So I think that, all of those little opportunities are always around us, but most people are too tired or too, I don't want to do that. And they're not paying attention.
Also, don't you also I also think that there's especially for women, but I mean, like, I think this is for men too. There's a thing like, uh, don't try because don't make a fuss. Like, you're just gonna that's sort of a pervasive kind of thing. It's only kids who have these weird parents that have been like, "You can do anything," and that's not everybody, but you know what I mean? Most people are coming into the world going, all right, I hope I can. I better not make you know what? We're trying not to make a big fuss, but get the things we deserve, but we don't know how. And we always think it's gonna just be given to us because we do well instead of no, sometimes you gotta come right up and ask for it.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. And I can look back on times where I shrunk in the moment and times where I didn't, and lots of regrets, but also lots of lessons. And I'm just at that point in my life now where, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna shrink anymore.
Right.
I'm not gonna do that. So take me from, let's go back to you, and thank you for that detour about me getting to meet Billie Jean
No, but I
King.
love that story because it you did it because I love that payoff is so immediate. Like you do this amazing thing, like, all right, I'll drive you. I know that must be a pain in the ass. And it's like a 2.5 hour drive. It's not a 5 minutes or something. You know what I mean? And then this great thing happens to you to pay it off is the instant karma. So cool.
Yes. Well, and the friendship that ensues and
Yeah.
lots of other things.
Now we're like,
So so you have this HBO special, and by the way, when you started this by saying you wanted to be an actress and on Broadway, you would have crushed Broadway. Is there still any part of you that wants to be on Broadway? I can totally see that happening.
of course, of course,
You'd
of
be
course.
What would you be doing? Let's just put it out in the ether. What does that look like?
I would want to do, I mean, for real, I would want to do plays just like I did all through grade school and high school and college, like, and I was actually in dramas. It's weird. I haven't taken acting class in probably 8 years or more, but I used to take it all the time. I'm good. Meaning
Of
I've been
course you
told
are.
by so many people, including people that are like people you would respect their opinion. You know what I mean? And I never got to use it ever.
Well, yet.
Bummer.
Yet.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm not dead, but um,
But add the yet. I haven't gotten to use it yet. The universe
right,
is listening. So
right.
let's
Put it out there. I still haven't gotten to use it yet. Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
Yeah. So what are some of the other shifts that you like as you look back on that was an amazing thing. So you've had this amazing body of work. What are some of the shifts that you're like, that was pretty cool? Or even that wasn't very cool. That was something that set me back. Is anything
But the only thing that set me back, you know this one. When in 1997, I was killing it. I had a condo out here, you know what I mean? And I was meeting up with the people from King World. Let's get you your own talk show. And I mean, like I had an agent. I have an agent now, but you know what I mean? I had an agent. I mean, it was just like, oh, this is gonna happen. You know what I mean? And then Ellen DeGeneres came out and all of Hollywood went, all right, we have a lesbian. We're done. And everything I had, meetings were canceled, literally. It was just as if like, we got a lesbian, we're done. And my career that part of my career just went poof and just stayed there forever, really. I mean, I didn't stop. I continued to perform and I had amazing experience and I'm going for it, but it was really weird. It was like, we have one lesbian, we're done. And then it was over. It was
Ugh,
that was weird. And it was at the time when it was so painful and so horrible. And I drug around so much resentment and so much pain from it for like, 5 years or longer. And then I realized that just is stupid. Life is amazing. I have amazing partner. I have great thing. I'm not doing this. You know what I mean? But I bet you I wasted 5, 7 years being
10,
real.
15.
Was it really? Is it
It was no, I mean it was that was soul crushing. I understood it.
hurt so hard? Because it was just like, what? They were just everything that was being I mean, I was in meetings where they were talking about, do you want to have a co-host or do you want a band and things like that. I mean, we were doing shit was fucking happening and it was like, whoa. And then me, I,
Mm.
you know, yeah. And then
Mm.
nothing I did for the years after ever couldn't get it back because then you turn 40 and you're done in Hollywood already, and now they're starting to look at that more, which is good. But you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
So it was really hard. It was painful. But it was a shift that I now look at and go, it had to happen for some reason. And I'm good. I'm good with it. Like I
Good.
think sometimes about things like maybe if I had gone on to get like super famous as the lesbian, whatever, maybe I would have been one of those people who got, I don't know, like hooked on drugs or got caught up with the wrong crowd or I don't, you know what I mean? Or just because so many comics end up dead in hotels. Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's be real. Um, and no, I mean, sometimes I think that maybe it was just that I wasn't ready for it and I wasn't going to be good at it at that time. And
I
the world protected me.
I agree. I think let's go with that. That's a better version of the story. And
Or because it's over and now I'm here and let's do more. Like you can't, that's something from back then.
let's do more. That's
But it was
th-
absolutely a shift. My God.
Who are some of the people right now as you sit here with a lot of experience, a very successful career, amazing partnership, you're in a super good place. But as a comedian, who are you looking at, from the who's turning you on right now? Male, female, gay, straight, it doesn't matter, but who do you think is crushing it?
You that because the most amazing part is, um, now obviously I haven't been out in clubs for almost 2 years. I'm just coming back to doing shows. But there are so many now. Like if you say who's really looking good in gay and lesbian comedy right now, I'll be like, uh, there's a gay and lesbian night at every comedy club in America right now,
That's
even in
awesome.
like, Louisiana. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a little. There's so many, and they're good, and they're just they're great comics that just happen to be gay and lesbian and talking about it like no big whoop.
Like, it's no big deal. Isn't that amazing?
And it's stunning. And whenever they talk to me or if they come to me or if I talk to them, they're just like, their mouths hang open when they hear me say, "Oh, I had clubs in New York that tell me they absolutely wouldn't even let me audition to be in there," or I was told that I did well at the audition, but they weren't gonna use me anyway because I was gay. Like, straight up, they would just say it to you. They would go, "'Cause this lesbian thing, I'm not," and it was like this open hostility that you and I don't remember exactly how much that was accepted in the '90s.
Oh, I remember.
Say, "Oh, we don't let lesbians in here," or something like that. They would just say it. There wasn't any kinda like, "Oh, let's pretend some other reason." They felt fine in just being openly, homophobic, and you were like, "Oh, alright."
But you were literally, you didn't care, didn't give 2 shits about that. I did. I sat here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like, hiding.
Why did you? Why did you? Why did you? Why did you care? Was it because you thought you were disappointing your folks?
Well, they disowned me, so that was kind of at the time that, there was nothing there to prove.
I care less because you don't have them
That's
to
right. But I needed to make money, and I needed a job,
I s
and at the time for me to make money and move about the world, I wasn't making money standing on a stage saying I'm a lesbian. I was
right.
making money in the business world saying I wasn't, you
Well,
know, like, so, and I
no, I
succumbed to that.
that because it's the same reason, like, teachers weren't out.
That's right.
Nobody was out. Nobody in the '90s, nobody was just out.
Isn't that bizarre to even imagine now?
It's only like 20 and 25 and 30 years ago. It's not 100 years ago. It's not even 50.
That's
It's
true.
it's just a young person's lifetime ago. And that's yeah, I'm mentoring a gal who's 30, who's been doing, the open mics and all that stuff for about 2 she's been doing it for like 2 years. I've been mentoring her this last year, and I'm watching it through her eyes. It's been bizarre. What's
Has
amazing is how gay and lesbian is just not a thing anymore in most clubs, and it just really isn't at the same level at all. Um, Even in the South, it's just not the same. How being a woman is still bad though. Like, so it's still like for women in comedy clubs, it might as well be 1972. But for gays and lesbians, we've stayed on par with as things progress. And that's a interesting thing to look at.
so yes, and you mentioned the pandemic a second ago. I wanna go backwards, in that. That was a shift for you, and those were dark days for all of us, but I imagine for somebody who makes a
Well,
living.
we were broken because uh like I traveled every single year. Like, I never took off a year or anything like that. I went 125,000 miles just in the United States, every year doing shows. I did 60, 80 cities a year. You know what I mean? And that was what I did. I've been doing it 28 years. And then the pandemic happens. We get shut down in March of 2020. And that was terrifying because I had to cancel a couple shows. And I was like, oh my God, but I don't cancel shows, right? And then as it progressed and it just kept going on, I mean, I was just oh my god, I was just, like, laying around the house going, "My life is over, there is no love." And and then my partner, my girl has her office out in our garage, she made it into their office. She gets, like, 3 promotions, and I'm like, I feel like I need to take a minute too, now that things are back, and, like, celebrate it with her, because I'm sure that when they happened, when we should have had champagne or something, I went, "Yeah, it's great."
You're
Yeah,
cutting
right?
Yes, I do know. You do need to do that because she's amazing, and as you know, I'm a big fan of Janine's.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah, but yeah, that was horrible. But that I think that was horrible. I think the only thing that got me through it, literally got me through it, is knowing that the world was feeling this. There just was nothing to be done. This was beyond historic. This was the earth is changing kind of thing. You know what I mean? And, that that's when you go, "Whoa, okay, so comedy, we're good." It'll come back or it won't, but you know what I mean? Like, uh, yeah,
One of
that
our Do you remember one of the Zoom calls we did, during that? Because we did try to stay connected, and you had on your mask during the Zoom call. You're like, "I'm not taking any chances. I don't know what's gonna" I was like, "I know." That was hard. That was tough stuff. So let's talk about what is the next shift for you other than being on Broadway, because we're putting that into the ether here today. What's next for you? What is on the horizon that you are, that's something that I do want to do. I still want to check off my list.
for me, it's write the book.
Write the book.
I just I never knew that I was this undisciplined. I'm not sure if that's even the right word. I just can't make myself do it. I mean, and I'm not used to that. Like, I can usually make myself do anything, at least for a time period, right? You know what I mean?
I
And
do.
I just can't do it. And I'm trying to figure out what's the carrot? What do I need? You know what I mean? What will make me do it? But a lot of it is also that, like, I started to do it probably 12 times now. You know what I mean? And you start writing stories and I'm typing them up and I just go, it just sounds so made up because my life has been a little bit wild and I don't realize it until it's out there on black and white and, and you're looking at it on your computer and I go, that sounds like so made, like being on stage that was on second base in Yankee Stadium because of the end of the gay games, right? And it was like 1993. I'd been doing stand up for barely 2 years, right? And I turn and I've got 65,000 people screaming and they're laughing at me and it's amazing. I turn and I'm on the goddamn jumbotron like Madonna. You know what I mean? Those things are just like, who gets to experience that?
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
handful of people get to experience these kind of things. And I've had lots of these. And I think I have like a, I don't, not in it. Something about me makes me feel weird to talk about them as if like that people will be mad at me or resent me or hate me or something because good things happen to me. I don't know what it is, but I notice that I'll be like trying to write and I'll be telling and I'll think, oh, and this was so amazing and I'm writing it and it's a great story. And then I'll be like, oh, people they don't want to know that.
Let me reframe something for you.
Mhm.
We've done it many times. We want to hear that shit. We want to hear the story. And I
Yeah.
have on my board right now that we have to tell our stories so other people can feel theirs. I'm sure Oprah said it or Maya Angelou or someone, but it's what has gotten me over the hump. You don't even know this. I am halfway through another book and it has been painful, and it does
Well,
take a lot of say it again?
are you being more personal or
Yeah,
does it?
no, it's mine. Yeah, yes, the working title I don't even know if I should say this, but the working title is The Invitation, and it's about inviting people to play bigger, and it's about looking back on my life where people invited me and I accepted it or I didn't. It's a love letter in some ways to people that shifted me in a way, to all of those opportunities. But I'm looking back at it as, not how's everybody else going to feel about it, but like what was I feeling when it was happening? And that might help you a bit to say, don't write it for anyone else. Somebody said that to me recently. Don't write it for yourself. And when you started saying you have your diaries as a young person and all that, I mean, man, like you have some things that I'm trying to remember that I don't even have that. I'm cheering you on, sister. I want you to write, as you know.
I took this girl on as this comic, this mentee a year ago. I did a show and she was the local comic. They looked for a local gay comic to open for me. And afterwards, I just said to her, I turned to her and I said, I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to teach you everything about comedy and the business of comedy. And she was like, okay. And she was like thrilled, but she didn't ask or anything. I just like went, yeah, I'm going to do that. And I realized the reason I was going to do it is I don't want to die with all the things that I've learned going nowhere. Learned so much about the business, about performing, about stand up. You know what I mean? And I don't want it to just die with me. I want someone to have like, oh, Suzanne taught me that or showed me that. So I don't have to do this or I want that. So that's what I'm trying to focus on that with the
I
book.
love that. So quit typing and start doing the, read it into your phone and let the transcription.
My brain works way I'm even fast as I'm pretty facile, but I'm not my brain is way faster than the typing.
Well,
Way.
that's helped me a lot too.
Yeah.
And the transcriptions right now are so good. Like,
Yeah.
you could get, an off-the-shelf app that could transcribe everything you're saying and send it to you, and then just get a
What the is saying, I'll do it for you. My God. But
okay,
but
there you go.
I gotta. I
You gotta
know.
do it. Alright, so I think I'm glad that's on your list.
It is.
I wanna help you however I can because I think what you have to say, everybody needs to hear, and
It's weird because I know that and I'm always that way normally. I wanna talk all the time. I interrupt people to talk, you know what I mean? But how it's so weird that like don't think I don't and this isn't right, but I don't think they wanna book about like somehow I feel like as if that's I don't maybe I've made books into like this thing, because books have been life changing for me. Maybe that's it. I'm putting too much on that part of it. Like, you have a book, you know.
well, I wanna go into coaching you mode, so I'm not going to because this is your interview and podcast, but I wanna help.
Okay, I'm gonna let you help me.
Alright, let's
That's a
do it.
big
That is
saying.
big. I do know that that is big for you. And with that, listen, as you know, I could talk to you all day and, as always, and I'll say it again, what I said in the middle of this. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate our friendship over the years. And, I know bigger things are coming for you. I feel that for you, whether it's Broadway and I don't know. I'll tell you what came to my mind. The memoir turns into a documentary, turns into a play.
Yeah, and that would be just amazing because if I knew when I was, 6 years old that I was gonna be on Broadway and then I'm on Broadway at, 70, I don't know, wouldn't that be amazing?
It would be fucking amazing.
What a coda at the end of any story that they tell about me. Like, from a director's standpoint, awesome.
Well, we'll talk more about that, but I'm, as always, cheering you on. I want to be a big thank you for being my guest today. So thank you so much. I love you, friend, and I'm cheering you on for sure.
You know I love you, you know I do, and I'm so glad that we got to stay friends.
Me too.
That's not always the case. We you made an effort and it was seen and it worked, so it was good.
All
I
right. Do it again soon. Do it again soon.